all avenues of reproduction, from birth control to pregnancy and child rearing, have consistently been placed squarely on the shoulders of women. Therefore, most birth control options have been geared towards inhibiting female reproduction, with condoms and vasectomies being the only FDA approved contraceptive options for men. Developments in modern medicine are looking to change that, however. The first non hormonal birth control for males has been proven effective in animal studies and has passed human safety studies. In a post Roe society, the introduction of the first male oral contraceptive would be revolutionary, and we're not too far from it. Welcome to BS, a podcast where we take an in depth look at different scientific and social phenomena and innovations whilst tying them back to broader societal perspectives and why you should care. We hope our first topic of season 2 answers some questions and prompts even more. Enjoy the show.
I really wish I created Darian.
Why is that?
I just feel like you ever hear something you go like, I could have did that, like I could have made that joke, I could have wrote that song, and like it's blowing up right now, and I was too busy like trying to focus on other avenues on my future. I should have been making Darian
No,
jokes.
that's very real. Because sometimes I be seeing what people be doing, and I'm like, it's really that easy for y'all, right?
It's really not easy to make y'all laugh.
Like I should have came up with win whammy. Like, oh my god.
Not too much now. Not too much now. Like that, yeah. I haven't heard nothing from Mozart since When Women came out, so I don't
At
know. I don't know
the end
about
of
all
the
that.
day, at
Like,
the end of the day. But what do you call it? Yeah, no. I remember when I first saw that, I was like, what are they talking about? Until I realized they were just trying to kind of like copy what women have been doing. That is so funny to me.
Ilyana, it's propaganda. Like, honestly, these new age men, like, it's all propaganda. Like, I
Nothing.
and
We can't have nothing. There's no joke a woman can make without a man coming to try and colonize. That like that shit is annoying.
girl, we apparently can't even have birth control, which is why I'm saying like it's propaganda. Like, they were setting this
First
up.
of all, I'm not even ashamed to admit that when I first found out about the what do you call it, new non-hormonal male birth control YCT 529, my first reaction was not positive. My first reaction was like, are you kidding me, guys? Like, are you serious
Uh,
right now? Like, are you serious right now? Like, the first ever male birth control going to market, and it's non-hormonal with no side effects and completely safe and fully tested. That, like, what a dream! What a damn dream!
my thing is like they're doing all of that, and Pap smears still are what they are.
I was about to say, like, we are advancing the wrong causes. Like, I was.
I avoided my PCP because I know I'm overdue. Like I just like what it's just like how am I not supposed to be mad? Like how am I not supposed to be a
Don't push
hater?
it.
All of a sudden, everybody degrees work when it's time to develop something for a
That's
man.
what
Like
really. Listen. Like all of a sudden, like there's no barriers to entry. Y'all got it on lock.
I'm so- all of a sudden, Orgo piece of cake. Y'all remember all of that? Like okay,
Right. Right.
right,
Right.
right. Like, so if y'all haven't been able to tell, this episode is gonna be about male birth control. Now hold your horses. It hasn't dropped yet. Like, don't be running to the PCP trying to make sure you get your period in check. However, this is the first time a non-hormonal birth control has gotten this far and has started to one have human clinical studies, and it's already passed human safety studies. So I don't know, man. Like it really might be on the horizon. So to break this down for y'all, we're probably gonna have three questions that we talk about. One, just like what even is like contraception or birth control, and like historically, what options have men had if we're speaking about this particular birth control like it's revolutionary. And then two, how does the first ever like oral contraceptive for men, YCT 529, work? Like, what about this method is super specific, and how is it different from like our current understandings of like birth control and like the scientific method behind that? And then also, it's just like, how is society prepared to receive this treatment? Like, it definitely would be a first, and with all of the social aspects of like women and having responsibility on reproduction and trapping him with a baby this, trapping him with a baby
Amen.
that. Maybe we can dead those Twitter conversations right now if we could get this to market.
Honestly, that
So
might be.
yeah,
If we could dead Twitter conversations, y'all can take all my savings. Go ahead and get it to market as soon as possible. Thank you.
like don't ask me about child support. You should have got your dear in control, dear. Like I don't know. I don't know. That's a future that I'm willing to fight for. So, one, contraception is basically just the idea of like trying to prevent pregnancy. So, technically anything under that umbrella would count, and this is the NIH's definition. It can vary between public health organizations, but yeah, it's usually just like anything that can prevent pregnancy. Yeah, NIH listed a myriad of things, for example, like the pill, which is the like basic daily pill that is available for women, IUDs, vasectomies, and it's even listed withdrawal. Now, do I think they were doing a little bit too much with that?
I
Possibly,
do,
but
because at the end of the day, the FDA did not have that as an approved contraceptive, and I'm low key on the FDA's
the FDA did
side.
not.
I'm on their
Like the
side.
FDA did not. Um, and honestly, I feel like their list was again a bit more straightforward, a bit more contraceptive, comprehensive, Freudian slip. Anywho, so one, they have like just permanent sterilization. Like if you ever heard a woman saying that she getting her tubes tied, yeah, this can often be given one after a woman gives birth, if you, especially if you like have C-section, if you're already opened up or if you're already numbed up, sometimes they'll just like tie your tubes or burn them right then. You can get your tubes untied, and there have been occasions where people's tubes have been tied incorrectly and they've given birth. That's how my friend got some of her siblings, but it should be permanent. It should be. It
Somebody
should be permanent.
is
And then
just on the
also,
podcast like that. Like, she finna listen and now she's gonna be like, is this play about us?
but nobody know who to play about, okay? Nobody know who her mom is, okay? I'm keeping it HIPAA, don't even worry. But yeah, and then there's also vasectomies, which are also technically reversible, but depending on if you don't have to reverse it, like you can have a vasectomy forever, one, and then two, depending on how long you've had your vasectomy, like the efficacy of that reversal, we don't really know. Like it's not necessarily like you're going to be back to 100%, especially if you had it for years. So yeah, and then there's also injections. Like I know a lot of people maybe think like the pill every day is too laborious. So like you can go in and just get an injection like 4 times a year, like every 3 months. And then we also have again like number one, the pill, quote unquote, and that is like the daily pill that's usually hormonal that you can take every day. Sometimes and it can help you skip your period or have your period come less often. And then there's also like software applications for contraception. And honestly, I was surprised they included this because I personally just like thought of all of them as a period tracker, but like most period trackers these days, they also allow you to know like when your predicted ovulation is, and they will tell you if they feel like you have a low chance or a high chance of getting pregnant. So some people, moving around those dates can also be a form of contraceptives. And then there's also barrier contraceptives, also very much big mama in the conversation, like condoms, dental dams, y'all know the gist. And then finally, emergency contraceptions, morning after pill, plan Bs, and essentially what they do is, again, have to be taken before, like, if you deep in ovulation, sister, you're low-key cooked. Like, these pills prevent your ovaries from dropping an egg, so there is no egg to fertilize. Now, if the egg is already there, dear, um, start cooking the hot dogs and the meatballs, it might be over.
Lord have-
So yeah, like out of all of these options, 18 out of 20 options are for women, at least for the ones that are FDA approved. The only two that are geared for men keeping it where they need to keep it is condoms and vasectomies. Like, where is the technology there? Like, I don't know. So it was really about time. Like,
No, it's definitely so crazy to me that only 2 of the 20 FDA approved contraceptives are for men. But I mean, at the end of the day, we live in a society, we all know the kind of patriarchal society that we live in. So, birth control and family planning has always been a burden that we just naturally associate with women. And I think it's also something that oftentimes people don't even question it. It's not even necessarily that they're against male birth control as much as it's just like it is literally not an option, and all birth control is advertised towards women. So that's kind of
no, misogyny and patriarchy is just so big in society.
yeah, and so that's just how it's set up for heterosexual couples in a lot of ways. And so sometimes, like, this, it's important to look at the systems that we live in and how things are encodified, because it might not even be something that you're regularly questioning as much as it's just a facet of your daily life. But that's my high horse for today. Now, with birth control, usually it's kind of grouped into 2 categories, so hormonal versus non-hormonal. So hormonal, obviously using natural or synthetic hormones to help prevent pregnancy in some sort of ways. So that can be androgen, progestin, those are the 2 main ones. Which, speaking of, I always try to wear some sort of like outfit that corresponds to whatever topic that we're filming. Today, I am wearing progestin purple. Well, yes. For the people online who are not seeing the video, I'm just basically wearing a purple cheetah top. But yeah, that's
Girl, I guess I'm wearing Plan B blue. I don't know. Like,
this is my contribution to fashion for today. Um, but yeah, those are hormonal options for birth control. Obviously, they come with a lot of side effects, especially if you're a woman who's been on hormonal birth control. You know that that could be acne, weight loss, mood swings, depression, and so much more, just because you're obviously messing with important, basically, systems in your body. Then there's
no, I remember girls saying like, "Oh yeah, I got off birth control," and I realized I hate this man that I've been with for 4 years. I was like, "Whoa, okay, all
I love that for
right."
you, Queen. I love that for you. Like, if that's what you want, like, live your life. Now, non-hormonal birth control, those can be physical or chemical processes that help to block sperm production and or transport in some sort of way, both on a woman's or man's side. So that could be sperm movement. Once again, like literally physically blocking the sperm passage through the male reproductive tract, or altering sperm motility, so literally the sperm's ability to move or swim to fertilize the egg. This could also be sperm production, sperm maturation / function. Also, to give context, I'm talking about non-hormonal birth control in the context of like male birth control, which is why we keep bringing up sperm. But those are the 2 options that have always kind of been looked through when doing research. And male hormonal contraceptives have been researched for a while, since the 1970s. And the way that they work is kind of by attacking the same axis that they use for female birth control. So that's the HPG axis, or the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis. First of all, I knew I was going to struggle to say this because I always struggle to say hypothalamus. Like, I always struggle to say that word. And so I knew this was going to be a pain for me. So yeah, the HPG axis. And this works by inhibiting the pituitary gland from releasing luteinizing hormone, or LH, and that stimulates testicular cells to produce testosterone, which is actually pretty important to basically lead to the production of sperm cells. And then follicle stimulating hormone, or FSH, which supports the maturation of spermatogonia, which are, once again, sperm cells. And both of these hormones, or sorry, not both of these, yes, both of these hormones are necessary for normal spermatogenesis. And obviously, if you kind of impact or mess with them, that will lead to a decrease in the production of sperm. However, male hormonal contraceptives have never actually reached the market, and there have been multiple studies that have proven that it is safe and effective in human beings, but they all usually fizzle out because of the side effects. There have been once again, a lot of the same side effects that women experience. So the acne, the weight gain, the mood swings, and certain studies. When I was doing research for this topic, I saw that like certain men were coming down with severe cases of depression, and so it was a thing that actively led to kind of the technologies or medications not being pursued further. So interesting to me once again because I'm like that never stopped y'all before. But anyways,
Like, but the thing is, like, when I was first like reading up on this like male birth control option, at first I was upset about how good it was, and I was like, because they know that nobody was gonna use it if it wasn't. Like the amount of like things women will accept in order to like bend to society, like men are not gonna do that. Like, okay, if he's chopped, he's just chopped. You're not putting makeup on, okay? Like they barely want to clean that crack. I knew they were
please,
not
bro.
going
I
to
don't want to
be
talk about a man's butt
taking.
today. I don't. I don't want to talk about whatever
It
y'all
might be
talk
too
over.
late, sister. It might be too
Please, I
late.
don't want to talk about it today. Hey, go ahead.
But I was just like, yeah, like I'm not even surprised because I was just like, the only way that it would even have a chance on this market is if men were going to actually care to take it. Like, I think everybody is very much okay with leaving that responsibility of having your body turn obtuse rubber goose green juice chocolate like shake at, like they're just gonna leave that for women, like, and the weight gain and my teeth fell out and I hate this man and I don't know who I am anymore, like that was always going to be placed squarely on the shoulders of women. Like,
Yeah, no, that's why it was acceptable for us and not for them. So yeah, interesting. Like obviously very valid concerns, of course. But I was like reading through why they were stopping the studies, and I was like, this was the reason. Must be nice.
whole time
Must
it's
be
just
nice.
the like symptoms of an average period. Like,
Y'all can never live a day
and
in
the
this
thing
body.
is,
Never live a day in this body, but it's okay.
I don't even know y'all could do 2 hours. Anywho, like non-hormonal, and y'all probably wondering, okay, if all this is true, why now? A thousand answers to that reason. Like, obviously, again, if we are socially pressuring women into taking that responsibility, like that is where like the research is gonna lie. However, male birth control actually has been in development, both hormonal and non-hormonal, for at this point like a century now, like since 1925. And it was first like um one, it's like required in order for like normal spermatogenesis, like, which is just like the creation of sperm. It's necessary for vitamin A to be there. And they kind of found that out around that like 1925 era, that like, okay, vitamin A is playing like a very important role in like the creation of sperm. And like that's where we start seeing them like riff off of that, and it was like, okay, like this may be like a good target for birth control. So they actually came to this conclusion when they were seeing like animals with like a very high vitamin A deficiencies, like their like spermatogonia cells were not differentiating. And like, what's all that? Like, girl, that was not English. Spermatogonia cells are just like sperm stem cells. And essentially, stem cells are cells that have the capacity to differentiate or basically like specialize in different things. So, for example, like your neuron wasn't originally a neuron when it first developed. At first, it was a stem cell that can be created a brain cell, and then like the same type of stem cell could have differentiated into a cell that now is your kidney. And the same thing happens with spermatogonia, is that some of them, like, since it's a stem cell, some of them will develop into spermatozoa, aka a sperm cell, which is what fertilizes the eggs and allows reproduction to happen. So one, like, they need to self renew. Spermatogonia are self stem cells that need to self renew, and they also need to do like asymptomatic division in order to become spermatozoa, or like what we consider, the little. The little first of all, for people who are watching on like audio, y'all know that like the head and the little squiggly tail, like y'all you've seen it. I know you've seen it. There's no way to avoid it. But yeah, that is your spermatozoa. And Sertoli cells, they just help in developing that spermatozoa. So like that's definitely important for both of them. And essentially spermatogonia cells are adult male stem cells, and at like targeting them is basically the basis of like YCT 529, which is the male birth control. So vitamin A has to be in the form of retinoic acid in order to help with the processes of like initiating the meiosis for the spermatogonial cells and allowing them to differentiate. And that's like again like just the basis of the research to get us to where we are now for YCT 529.
And so, of course, that leads us to the first ever oral contraceptive for men. Once again, going to be very revolutionary when it comes to market, YCT 529. And how does that work? Well, obviously, Gold and I have kind of gone into the specifics of hormonal and non-hormonal male contraceptives and the research that has gotten us to where we are today. But boom, enter modern medicine. So gene knockouts is when you basically completely remove the expression of a specific gene in some sort of way. This can be done in a variety of different ways. And in this case, there is a retinoic acid receptor alpha, or RARA, and this has been shown to lead to male sterility in different research trials, which has made it a huge point of interest as a male birth control target. And the drug in question, YCT 529, interferes with vitamin A signaling through kind of acting as an antagonist to this receptor. And an antagonist or a competitive antagonist basically works by binding to a receptor instead of a separate molecule that's supposed to actually bind and allow the process to occur, whatever that might be, whether that's like enzymatic breakdown or the production of a certain protein. In this case, YGT 529 is saying, oop, nope, bumping that other molecule away and binding to all of the available receptors in order to prevent that sperm production. And this drug, very revolutionary, was developed in collaboration by researchers at the University of Minnesota School of Pharmacy, Columbia University's Medical Center, and it's specifically kind of under, I guess, the grasp of a biotech company called YourChoice Therapeutics. And it's been proven to be very, very effective. It's been shown to cause infertility in mice and also halt sperm production in non-human primates within 2 weeks of literally starting the medication, which also, to give context, men produce a lot of sperm. Like, men produce a lot of sperm. For women, you have your 1 egg a month. Men produce a lot of sperm, and so for it to be able to already halt sperm production within 2 weeks, that's a pretty quick timeline for, once again, producing sperm every single day. And it's also reversible. Fertility is actually regained after the animals stop taking the medication, which shows that it would also be reversible in human beings. And so it's very promising in a lot of different aspects because it's non-hormonal, it's showing that it has no adverse side effects, it's reversible, unlike vasectomies, one of the main current forms of male contraceptives, which, although technically reversible, the ability to reverse definitely decreases as time goes on, and B, it's not always successful, it's not foolproof. And so having something that you can just take orally every single day, and after a couple of months it immediately starts working, and then once you stop taking it in a couple of months, once again your sperm production will go back to being normal. That is something that is kind of unheard of and could actually be on par, if not better, than the efficacy of current female birth controls. And so, why do you
Better.
have y'all better? Have y'all, like, it's really crazy to think that they already did a better birth control and this is the first one coming to market. How interesting. And when we say that it's coming to market, it's coming to market, baby. Like, it's already passed the first round of safety tests in humans because there was a phase 1 clinical trial for the drug that was successfully completed by YourChoice Therapeutics in 2024, and they're currently undergoing a second clinical trial right now. And so, yeah, like, it's really exciting because it actually might be coming out within the next couple of years.
And honestly, even doing this research and seeing like how close they are to like actually probably like changing this like social sphere of like how we think of family planning, the first thing I thought about was like, how is society prepared to receive this new treatment? Like, I I think anytime a revolutionary like medical intervention happens, like it's a lot more like bending societally than people recognize. But like for something like this, I feel like definitely more than usual, because I'm not gonna lie. The first thing I thought is like, are men gonna take this? Like, or are they going to be like, it's a lot easier just to hope that whatever woman I am sleeping with is already gonna take it? But honestly, at least in the survey that we saw, and this was a 40 question convenience sample, but it was all the way back in 2012, you know, above the 10-year threshold, take with a grain of salt. But it was 132 men and 165 women, and they basically were just asked opinions about male birth control. And 94.9% of participants believed that contraceptives was the responsibility of both partners. Which, listen, I'm glad the number is high, but like, what y'all say before and versus what y'all do, I don't know. I don't know. I
Have
don't
a
know. I don't
really
know.
practical
And
application.
exactly. But honestly, 80.9% of men said that they would be willing to like use a like oral contraceptive, aka like the pill. But only 65.6% of women believed that the man that they were with would actually do that. And I'm not gonna lie, like if I was in that study, I would have also been a skeptic, because I'm just like, the way y'all talk and live your life, like why would I think that y'all would take some agency and responsibility when y'all don't do that for anything else? Like, I'm not even trying to like be whack-a-mole, whack-a-mole, whack-a-mole on men, but I'm just like, guys, let's be honest. Like, let's be honest.
Especially
I
because I feel
I
like
was
sometimes
surprised
it's
as well.
easier for people to say they're gonna do something rather than actually do it. And you also have to think about the like regimen that is necessary. Like once again, for women who have been taking
Mhm.
birth control for years, it's very like normal to them that, oh, I have to take this every day, or oh, something's implanted in my arm, or oh, I literally have something implanted in my uterus. Like that's just kind of like, once again, we've been like socialized in a society in which that's normal. But I could definitely see for men who like that is not an experience that they've ever had before, an experience of daily life. Like obviously they take medication, but for other things, never in this
Mhm.
aspect of life, and maybe never as frequently. So it'll be interesting because it's just kind of like, you could say that you're gonna do it, but is that actually something, like is that a habit or behavior that you're willing to build over time?
Yeah, which is like why we keep circling back to the fact that it having no adverse side effects in studies is actually very important, because that was going to be the main hill to cross in terms of actually getting men to take it. Like, but yeah. And on top of that, 74.2% of the women in that study said that they would continue to take their birth control even if they were like with a man who was taking birth control. And that was another thing that I was thinking about, is that, you know, past my bitterness, my second thought to help like counteract it was like, maybe this could be like a good option for like monogamous women who struggle with hormonal birth control, who like have very irregular periods on it, feel like it affects their emotion a lot, and like it really lowers their quality of life. But I'm just like, are they gonna put that trust in a man? And the answer is not looking like yes. Like it's really not. And you know, I wouldn't either. Like that's what I be saying every time.
Well, you
Like,
have
y'all
to
got
think
it.
that the
Y'all got it. Sorry.
consequences of being wrong are very high. Eh? It's not like, oh, is he gonna pick up the pizza at the time that I told him to? It's very much like, are we gonna end up with a wailing, screaming child in my arms in 10 months?
And most of y'all guys can't even pick up the pizza. So like, I get it, girl. I get it. And honestly, like, I feel like again, we're just not in society in a position where it's okay to be making decisions like that. Like, maybe this is post Roe. Like, things are getting a little spooky ooky. Things have been a little spooky ooky for a while now. So like I can understand where it's just like there is no opportunity to be playing games. And like again, like this
Very true.
study was 2012 and women were already kind of skeptical about like putting that much trust in a man. And I'm not even saying that they have to, and it's not good for like both partners to take birth control, but like to even have that option. But I'm like, again, now in this post-Roe society, the rise of US conservatism and just the overall attack on not only public health, women's health, anything that was going to keep you alive is now a threat to the United States government. Like, I can understand why, like, the last thing I'm trying to do is go off my birth control and hope that Jared, my neighbor from down the block, is gonna, have his thing together. Like,
Very, very true. But I mean, granted, there have been other studies that have come out like since this study, and they've kind of continued the trend of seeing like pretty high positive attitudes towards male birth control, with it ranging between anywhere to like 34% to upwards of 95% of men who will say that they would be happy to have male birth control and would gladly take it. And obviously, this is something that has other factors that come into play as well, like race, ethnicity, what do you call it, religion, and like if that's something, like if contraception is even something you kind of believe in. And yeah, there's a lot of different controlling factors for that as well. So it's important to kind of not look at men as this one generic demographic, because there are other factors that are obviously at play. And even when looking younger, like kind of looking to the age where unplanned pregnancies usually occur, which to be quite honest is high school students and college students. In fact, most unplanned pregnancies happen, I think, from the age of 18 to 24, which makes a lot of sense because these are people in very unstable periods of their lives. Okay, girl, you living in that dorm with 3 other roommates. Like, now's not the time to be popping one out. And yet, life happens. Life happens. Sometimes that condom really do break, and you really did try your best. And so a survey was done of college students at Midwestern University in 2022, basically to assess the attitudes on various male contraceptives, so not just the pill, but also transdermal gels, injections, implants, all different kinds. And they found that being female, being agnostic, being Jewish for some reason, which I don't really understand, but maybe Jewish people can explain it to me. And then identifying as single in a monogamous relationship, which what I'm taking of that is I think not being married, because they counted married as something separate. And those were all 4 factors that were associated with more positive attitudes towards different forms of male directed contraceptives or male birth controls. However, being on a government healthcare policy and race were associated with more negative attitudes towards male birth control. And then identifying as a Protestant was also associated with having negative attitudes towards the male birth control pill specifically. And I don't necessarily find any of that surprising. Obviously, I think women are going to be more in support of something like this. People who are not religious versus people who are religious. I can understand why people who are not religious and I guess don't have any beliefs towards contraception and family planning, like that might be something they're more in support of than people who might have religious beliefs that prevent them from utilizing those. Once again, don't really understand the Jewish, but once again, the Jewish people can explain it to me. And then once again, people who are in a relationship, it makes sense why they would be more likely to support it. And on the reverse side, in terms of the negative attitudes, like, once again, this is something that historical data has to back. As for the government healthcare policy, this isn't even something that's like specific to male birth control, because there have been other studies that show that women who are on Medicare or Medicaid are less likely to get female birth control, whether that be IUDs, implants, the birth control pill. So a lot of the factors of this, as always in all of our episodes, is accessibility. Like, I don't even necessarily think it's an attitude thing as much of a can I even afford to have healthcare, period. And that's just a whole separate conversation that's always at play when we're talking about anything going on in the US healthcare system. So it makes sense why that was a negative attitude. And then race, I think that there is a history of non-white minorities kind of not having the most positive experiences with the healthcare system, oftentimes being given technologies or treatments that haven't been fully tested, aren't completely safe, or literally being used as a guinea pig. One of the studies that I even researched for this topic was a study done in LA, specifically with Black men, and they did 6 60-minute focus groups. And they all largely had negative attitudes towards male birth controls, and their literal like reasoning for that was, we don't want to be used as guinea pigs. We don't want to use this technology until it has been fully tested and approved, and then maybe we'll consider it, but we don't want to be used as something for y'all to test on, especially when it comes to, like, even think about eugenics. Shout out to one of our previous episodes where it's just like people might have the conception that, oh, you're trying to prevent non-white children from being born. So I say all of this to say that there's a lot of different factors to consider when we're thinking about why people may have positive and or negative attitudes towards male birth control that go just beyond simply gender. That was a lot to say.
Yeah, and again, like it's weird because like everything we're discussing right now is going to be exacerbated by the current administration, point blank. I mean, people literally got fire sticks and pitchforks at RFK Jr.'s door, and I'm one of them. And like, if we're over here
He
talking
deserves
about how just like again propaganda after propaganda about things that are unhealthy for you, this, that, the third, and putting chemicals in your body and da 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 da, launching something that is unlike something we've ever seen before, asking somebody to be taking a medication every single day that is by all means elective, like it's going to be an uphill battle, even more so.
And
Oof.
one thing about me and Gold is that we're always going to be just in constant disarray about the state of affairs. But, anyways, something that I will know from this study that I thought was very, very interesting, and if you guys have the ability to check, this is a plug for the required reading. We put all our research in the description box. You guys should always check them out because we don't just be lying, we have sources to back ourselves up. But something that I thought was interesting was that the number of sexual partners and condom use were not significant predictors of attitudes towards male birth control, which, and this is just an assumption I would have had going into reading the study. I would have assumed that having a higher number of sexual partners and being more likely to use condoms, or I guess not wanting to use condoms as much, would make you want to have male birth control because you would want to protect yourself from an unwanted or unplanned pregnancy, especially because, once again, the focus group was college age students. So it's interesting that that was not a significant statistic, but hey man, you never know. And last thing I'll talk about with this study is something that I discovered reading it, which is the prototype willingness model. And it's basically a theory that posits that health decision making involves two types of information processing: a reasoning pathway and a social reaction pathway. And obviously, we all understand the reasoning pathway. Logically, I take this specific medication because I have this specific illness and I want to cure this illness and no longer suffer from the symptoms. Cool. With the social, what do you call it, reaction pathway, that one is of course more complex. That one is subject to cultural kind of practices, attitudes, stereotypes, and just how you kind of want to be perceived as an individual moving in a larger society. And within the social reaction pathway, there's these things called prototypes, and they are basically the images that people have in their head when they think of the type of person that engages in a behavior. For example, if we're going to be relevant to this topic, when people think of birth control, they think of woman. They think of a woman as the type of person who's going to be engaging in this type of behavior. You know, when I think of basketball, I think of somebody tall. I think of somebody that's 6'5" who's going to be engaging in this type of behavior. And these are very, very...
Yeah. And honestly, even when you brung up like women in birth control, when hormonal birth control, again, like the daily pill first dropped, like there was crisis around that too, because they were like, what type of woman? You know, are you a little harlot? Like, are you little, like they definitely were like, there was stigma around that. In fact, like the placebo pill at the end of, I think every week for like a female birth control is partially there because of concerns from the Pope and the idea of unnaturalness if you miss your period. So giving some women the option to continue to have their period, like that's not a pill that you need to take at all. This is not medical advice, but that is just the truth. So yeah, like the way the like social perception of the type of person who took that pill and like literally made them kind of change the marketing towards it and have them put placebo pills in your packs. So it's like you're not some unnatural whore who's missing her period and going out on the streets. Like, whole time, that is medically unnecessary.
No, it's even like I feel like people have that attitude towards menstruation. Like I feel like especially when women start to get their periods, there's a lot of projection on little girls. Like I was today years old, or it was very recently that I found out that people thought that like using tampons made you like you were some like you were having premarital sex or something, like people assume that, and I thought that was quite interesting. But that just goes to
I was
serve as
definitely
an
hearing that
example
propaganda
of the
as a
social
child.
reaction pathway, that at the end of the day people have certain images and stereotypes that they associate with behaviors, and once they take hold of the public's imagery, it's usually really hard to let go. For example, a lot of the examples I listed, they were very static, simple, but oftentimes we kind of build out these prototypes in our heads. They are entire human beings with lives, specific characteristics and personality traits, and whether they're rich or they're poor, or they're this or they're that, and they act a certain way. And we, in some way or another, develop a bias as to how we feel about this specific prototype. And so, in terms of male birth control, potentially kind of identifying what the stereotypical characteristics that are associated with a man who would use birth control could potentially allow interventions to be developed and kind of help improve attitudes and increase utilization of contraceptives. Because at the end of the day, if we can kind of figure out what this kind of demographic or target base looks like, which at the end of the day is going to be young men, it's important to kind of advertise it to them in a way that they're going to want to actually use it. Because in a lot of the ways, that is the kind of uphill battle that this treatment is going to see.
Yeah, don't let vasectomy gate happen again. Like, the amount of media that I have consumed, the amount of things that I've heard in real life that are basically like, what? Why would I go and get castrated? And I'm like, sir, that is not what a vasectomy is. Like, the amount of like TV shows and sitcoms who have an episode where the man is supposed to get a vasectomy and for one reason or another he doesn't. Like, y'all dropped the
It's
ball that
propaganda.
time.
It's propaganda.
Don't let it
It's
happen again.
propaganda.
Like, don't let it happen again. Like,
Yeah. I think more than anything, my thoughts on this treatment is that it's not about the efficacy or accessibility. I think its primary barrier to entry for society will be combating social norms and kind of reworking the cultural understanding of sex, reproductive autonomy, and family planning, and just kind of who bears the responsibility of being safe when having sex. And I think that in so many ways we have codified this as a woman specific thing. It's going to be really, really, really hard to kind of remove, once again, that prototype or that imagery from people's head and make it a more equitable thing. I don't think it's impossible, though. I think that in recent years we've seen a lot of things that were considered to be very girly, very feminine, very woman only, men kind of adopt in a lot of different ways. They usually kind of tone it down or make it their own thing. And trust, those men are still definitely getting made fun of, but it's not, I would say, necessarily, and this is from what I'm seeing, Gold, you can chime in on this, but like,
that is what it used to
exactly, like,
be.
I don't feel like it's like a majority opinion the way it used to be. Like, you would have been called a sissy, you would have been called all these different low-key homophobic, actually not even low-key, high-key homophobic slurs, like, if you had done these things, versus like now, like, are people still gonna low-key be mean to you? Yes, but there's a lot more people supporting that kind of behavior, and it's not odd. Like, once again, there's a lot of things that I feel like men now do that they have the freedom to kind of act how they want to, that even a couple of decades ago would have gotten them glances. So yeah.
I'm glad for that development. Gotta have something positive. But yeah. In terms of my thoughts, when I can finally move past my bitterness about the fact that this came for men before it did for women, it's honestly quite similar to Ilyana's, where I'm just like, beyond the accessibility, like, what social conversations are we gonna have to have when this drops? And like basically what battles are we going to have to face? Again, patriarchy is so ingrained in our society that it's not questioned, and things like this are forcing questioning and forcing people to think about things that quite frankly they've probably never thought of before, like in terms of like, oh, this thing is unsafe, okay, then why are we allowing women to take it? Or this thing is a woman's responsibility, and just like, why is that? Again, it seems simple from somebody who's viewing it from the lens of like egalitarianism, but like that is just not the majority of people's lens, because like that is just not how our society has been functioning. So curious for the future.
Yeah, I think what do you call it? If there, my ending thoughts really is obviously this is a safe technology. It has a lot of potential, and a lot of the battle is going to be combating cultural attitudes. But on the flip side, let's talk about how the first ever male birth control to come to the market was non-hormonal, had no adverse side effects, was all of these amazing things. And then let's look at how we research women's health. There is a very big gap that's dated back for decades, if not centuries, that leads to this inequality in terms of how issues that primarily affect women are treated, whether that's reproductive health, menstruation, even autoimmune diseases, which are more likely to occur in women. And even, what do you call it, the NIH, when funding quote unquote women's health, out of all of the things, women's health was actually ninth in the list, because it's only recently that they changed it from basically the funding being calculated based on the number of women in the study versus the study actually in some way targeting women's health. Because, of course, any study is going to have women in it. Pause. That was only instituted in 1993. Like, that was only, there are people, like, only in 1993 was it actually a requirement by the NIH that in order to publish a study, you had to have female participants. And so, getting up on my high horse to say, while I think that this is going to be a really, really positive thing, I think everybody deserves reproductive agency, and this is a step in the right direction. I think that this is also a junction where we can really sit and have a conversation about how women's health deserves this kind of treatment. Women deserve the non-hormonal, no adverse side effects treatment. They deserve these options being granted to them, and it shouldn't be something that only starts to be pioneered when their male counterparts receive it. Amen.
I mean, perfectly said. Like that's the thing. I just very similarly, like I really hope that this intervention breeds conversation, because I feel like so often we have pop culture moments or social moments or historical moments that like kind of get everybody's attention, and like it feels like there's a conversation that should be happening, but the conversation never actually happens. Shout out to Luigi and United Healthcare, but that's one other conversation. Like
But yeah, a lot to think about, but generally positive. As always, we should be better to women, but that's a takeaway that we should have every day. Everybody should be a feminist, but anyways. My last little tidbit is that I just feel bad for the researchers in a lot of these studies, because they had to count sperm manually on a hemocytometer. And if y'all don't know what a hemocytometer is, it's literally like, I hate them so bad, especially now when automatic cell counters exist. And I don't really know. I'm sure there's a reason why you can't count sperm on an automatic cell counter, but hemocytometers are literally these like grids where you have to like manually count cells. And so I don't know. I feel like I would be rethinking life choices if I was sitting there having to manually count sperm. So shout out to them doing the research that needs to be done.
honestly, with the state of our economy, every life science major got to rethink a little life choice, you know?
Okay, guys, time for a segment that we know you all love. Bits of BS. So, for those of you that are listening for the first time, this is just me and Gold going over fond or maybe not so fond memories of our undergraduate experience. So, Gold, I'll let you go first.
Honestly, this is partially my fault. However, I'm still gonna complain. Like, I, anytime I would be in class and like sometimes like sometimes when people would be doing things on like their huge gaming laptops in class, it would distract me because I'm just a very nosy person. So like I already prefaced, this is my fault. But I'll never forget this man having these freaky conversation with this girl on some kind of server that I could not recognize. And like I'm like, dang, now I'm not learning anything about this action potential because I'm over here like, why are you who is that, where are you, why are you saying that, like this website looks
First of
mad
all,
shady.
I repeat yourself. I'm confused. Freaky. Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand what you just told me, but it literally went over my head because I'm not computing it. Freaky conversation on what Discord server? Like I.
I didn't even say
Oh,
Discord.
okay.
I just said on some, like,
Fruity
first of all, good
Fruity.
assumption. Good, great assumption, actually. Like, you know what type of school you went to, but
Well,
no, it
my
was just,
Catholic
it was
friends, and
giving.
I know what type of school you went to. Not too much, Miss PWI.
It wasn't. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
PWI.
yeah. But like, no, it was just like, dang, it's 10 a.m. You freaked out on this huge laptop. Like, again, is this my fault? Yes. Could I have paid attention? Low key, no. And I also feel like not to have like two bits of BS about smell, but he also it wasn't smelling the best over there. But as a female STEM major, that's just the sacrifice you have to make. So I don't even need to bring that part up.
Oh, that's killing me. Some of y'all need to find like a holier path, a more spiritual path. Like I don't know, like that is crazy things to be doing. Is this what your parents sent you to school for? Is this what they sent you to school for?
So
Like,
African.
is this what they saved their money for? Freaky conference when you should be studying calculus.
Well, honestly, whether they know it or not, it is.
And all I can do is feel bad for that poor mom. What do you call it? Okay, my bit of BS is going to be a bit more recent, so I'm not going to do too much. But basically, I was in a capstone group, and them
Oh,
people, bro, God already knows them people ran me ragged. They ran me ragged. It was me and one other girl, and she was also black, and for
of
we were
course.
doing heavy fucking lifting with these people in a way that, like, I would get on calls and I would ask questions about our next steps and how we were going to structure things. I would get no response. Like, one member, he was taking like 27 credits. He was insane. And eventually he just stopped contributing. And so we literally had to throw him out. And it was just a lot of different things. Like I said, I'm not gonna get too deep into it, but that was really the biggest example of group project gone wrong. Okay, like
Nah, I remember you talking about that like it was Bad Girls Club. I was like, oh, all right, for a capstone project, okay.
why did I have to
Like,
literally yell at one of the guys like he was one of my biggest ops at our literal final like our capstone presentation, like the capstone expo. I'm literally yelling at him, and people are walking by. I ended up high fiving a man that like literally big ups me while I was yelling at him, and I was like, exactly. That's the kind of female empowerment that we're looking for, guys. Support your local woman yelling at random men because I promise you, it's usually for a good reason.
I don't even know what I would do if I saw somebody trying to read somebody else for Phil at a capstone project. But honestly, if you've ever had a college group project, you at least slightly understand what she's talking about.
These
Like,
Then people will start to make you act crazy. And at the end of the day, you can only do so much. But with all of that said and done, this was an amazing episode. We're really excited to get this out to you guys. Male birth control is a very interesting topic, and we obviously want to hear your thoughts in the comments. And of course, when you go down to the comments, make sure to like and subscribe, and also check out the description box. That is where we have all the required reading. Gold and I try really hard to get peer-reviewed sources, reputable sources, and also do extensive research. Not just pick the first source that we see, but really make sure that we're trying to understand the topic as best as possible to give it to you guys in a very accessible way. So, with all that said and done, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
bye.